Just in case you've been living under a rock for the last couple of weeks and missed it, there's a new anime in town that has us all hooked. Although, to be fair, so many people have been hooked since the manga dropped in 2019. However, the anime has brought Spy Family, also called Spy X Family, to the attention of the rest of the world in a big way. And Saturdays have never been more interesting, at least for me. So, whilst I await the drop of today's episode, I figured I could film a quick video lauding all the many ways, 10 in all, why we love Spy Family and why it is just so damn good. If you have other reasons outside of what I'm about to list, please write them down and drop them in the comments. I would love to read them all and have this conversation with you. Also, do not forget to like this video, subscribe if you aren't subscribed already, turn on post notifications if you want to, and let's get into it. Oh, and there will not be any spoilers, so you can rest easy on that. First reason why we all love Spy Family is the story. Spy Family is a spy comedy based off of the manga with the same name, written and illustrated by Tatsuya Endo, that centers a family made up of a spy dad, an assassin mom, and a telepathic daughter. There is an eventual addition to their family that I wouldn't go into because of spoilers, but the entire premise of the story has this very dysfunctional family coming together for the purpose of, in the case of the father, Loid Forger, codenamed Twilight, who is a spy from the country of Westalis, who is currently in Ostania, for a mission to stop both countries from going into war by getting his precocious child admitted into the elite Eden Academy. Except he doesn't have a child, which is where our beloved main character Anya, the daughter, aka the telepath, comes in. Now, I say main character because, let's be honest, Anya is the one carrying this entire show on her peanut-loving, carrot-eating, scrawny shoulders. Anyway, as I was saying, Loid doesn't have a kid, which is why he goes to an orphanage and adopts Anya, a young girl who wants a family, but who he doesn't know is a telepath. But she is seemingly brilliant, and keyword here being seemingly, and voila, they become a family. However, upon finding out that his status as a newly minted single father wouldn't get him the entry into the prestigious school, as we all know in the immortal words of Jane Austen, it is a truth universally acknowledged that a spy in possession of a secret mission must be in want of a wife. Enter the wife and mother, Yor, codenamed Thorn Princess, an assassin who realizes that in order to continue her work, needs to create the facade of being happily married and being a part of a family. And thus we have the Forgers, three people with different goals that align and who in turn try to make this family thing work in the most hilarious of ways. And that is a perfect segue to the second thing that makes Spy Family so good, the comedy. This story is hilarious as fuck. I have spent many a night chuckling at the Forgers' antics, both in the pages of the manga and in the anime. There's just something effortlessly funny about a spy who has always walked alone, having to deal with the family unit he is now saddled with, and being out of his depth so many times. Or Anya, whose very design itself is funny. I mean, look at her. Doesn't the sight of her just make you smile and chuckle? Plus, her telepathy has her acting in the most random ass ways that to the onlooker makes no sense. But because we know she can read minds and she's living with a spy and an assassin and is privy to their thoughts, her little reactions just make everything way funnier. And even Yor, you know a mangaka has a good sense of humor and excellent timing because, let's be real, any good comedian worth their salt will tell you that comedy is all about timing. And Yor's comedic timing, whether it's her dealing with her city council colleagues, her brother, not going into any details on that because once again, spoilers, or her desire to be a good mother to Anya, or even when she's sweetly introducing herself just before she assassinates her target. Hilarity, 10 over 10. But it's not just the comedy that works. The action is also fantastic. I mean, it's a spy comedy, so of course there has to be action in it. And the way it is balanced in the story is phenomenal. Now, a lot of stories that claim to do both tend to always lean more on one side. So it's either more action than comedy or more comedy than action. Spy Family walks the divide with an expertise that is just so satisfying. 1 minute you can be cheering on Loid and how he's kicking the ass of the smugglers on his tail, then laughing at the way Yor effortlessly jumps in to kick ass with a, "Ooh, I took some self-defense classes," then fixated on how both of them will escape the goons crowding in on them, and laughing at the proposal that is executed using a ring for a bomb set against the background of an explosion that is the result of that. It takes masterful skill to be able to maintain such tension all the way through, and Tatsuya Endo does that brilliantly well. Another thing that Tatsuya Endo does brilliantly well within the story is the pacing. Now, I know that in the anime, we are only 4 episodes in so far, so if you've never read the manga or you're an anime-only type person, you might not really agree with me as much because you've not experienced enough of the story to tell. But the pacing for Spy Family is so good. It's fast-paced whilst still allowing for moments in between for the characters to breathe, to have these periods of reflection, but also to have moments where they can feel like actual characters, building actual relationships with one another. Frankie is not just Loid's informant, he's also a friend. So we see moments of him babysitting for the Forgers, bonding with their daughter as the last member of the family. We're able to see Loid and Yor's relationship grow. The latter is able to share her insecurities, even though she only does that when she's roaring drunk. But you get the idea. When the action is strong, the story moves at a quick pace that is fitting of a spy story with an assassin story underneath. And when it's family time or school time, it slows down, but never in a way that feels boring or like the author is just doing so to pad the work and stretch out the story needlessly. Every chapter contributes to the story being told. It furthers it in a way that nothing drags and everything just works. And then there's the characters. Spy Family has quite the interesting roster, with every character bringing something to the table to make this quite the entertaining story, one that flies by really fast. The characters of Loid, Yor, and Anya Forger are so well developed and so well rounded that you find yourself rooting for them and hoping that they can make this pseudo family of theirs work, whilst they each find the fulfillment that they don't know they're looking for. And you can see that in quiet moments throughout the entire story. Moments where later in the manga, Loid would have certain reactions and come to certain conclusions that give us a clearer view of who he is, his history, why he is the way he is, and what direction the story should take his character, so that there can be that moment of character growth and satisfaction at the end of the story. The same can be said for Anya, and the same can be said for Yor as well. But the interesting thing is, this also applies to the minor characters in the story, some of whom we've already gotten glimpses of in the case of Frankie, and how he helps Loid as both an informant and supplier of his spy devices, the cue to Loid's bond, if you will, and Yuri, Yor's younger brother, who we've only heard from in the anime, but if you're a manga reader, you know how important a role he plays later in the story. The same goes for Headmaster Henry Anderson. Even in the short glimpses we've gotten of these characters, we have a clear understanding of the type of characters they are, their relationship with the main characters, and an idea of how they might contribute to the story, plus the fact that, like the main characters, they too have room for character growth and development. Another reason why Spy Family is so good is that some of its characters are adults with adult problems who act like adults in a shonen story. And what do I mean by that? Most shonen stories have teenage protagonists, a lot of them which have either both parents dead or one parent is dead, and basically we have these characters who have to act like adults in their story. Spy Family, however, has actual adults who are central to the story. They are both protagonists and supporting characters, and they have adult concerns, whether it has to do with them approaching the age when they should be getting married and aren't, or getting their children into good schools, trying to find fulfilling work that would also help them serve their country, how to be present for their kids. It is quite the rare thing to experience in this genre. And no, I am not attempting to say that Spy Family is the only one of its kind. It is not. I'm just saying that stories like this are rare, and that is great, and that is yet one more reason why Spy Family is so good. Now, because the adults are acting as adults, it leaves room for the kids to act like kids, which is why Anya is able to be a kid. She's able to be excited about things and scared and silly and helpful in her own way. All of this contributes to yet another reason why this story is so good. Anya gives readers the chance to remember how life was for them when they were 6 years old. Because I don't know about you, but I would have loved to have had a spy dad and an assassin mom at that age. Would have loved to have been able to read minds. Hell, I still want to be a telepath, even now. The innocence that permeates Spy Family at its core is mostly because of Anya's charm. And the reason we're able to experience that charm is because Anya is able to be a kid. And then there's the found family trope that is present in the story. Now, found family is one of my favorite tropes in fiction ever. I think it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing to realize that we have the power to choose our own family, essentially because some biological families just don't work. Some of them are incapable of giving us what we need. We might not be able to choose our parents, but we definitely can choose our family. And we see this reflected in Spy Family. Whether it's Loid's choice to adopt Anya, his relationship with Frankie, or Yor's choice to raise her brother Yuri and create a family system where he grows up knowing that he is loved, which is why he absolutely adores his sister, who raised him when she herself was a child. Or it's a family unit that the Forgers create in the story. Spy Family shines brighter with the threads of chosen family woven within it, and it definitely contributes to the awesomeness of the story. But even with all the conversation about the awesomeness of the story and its slice of life approach and the innocence and charm that Anya brings, it's important that we do not forget that this story still centers a spy and an assassin, the latter of which kills people in very interesting and occasionally brutal ways. And it's the fact that Tatsuya Endo is able to switch all of that around and still maintain the tonality of the story in a way that people sometimes forget that Yor can in one moment fillet a man and in the next be serving tea to her family. It's masterful storytelling and having a good grasp of the story you're offering your readers. I mean, how can anyone not love a story like that? And finally, all of this put together, effortlessly blended as they have been in this one story, makes the story, I think Anya says it best. Anya! It's exciting. Spy Family is exciting, and it makes me positively excited for Saturdays when new episodes drop on Crunchyroll. So those are the 10 reasons. Tell me, if you're following Spy Family, how excited are you for today's episode? If you aren't following Spy Family, have my reasons been enough to convince you to give the story a try? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Until then, stay passionate, stay nerdy, stay loving yourself. Bye.